In this video, I am going to be showing you guys Arcane's top 10 Easter eggs in my opinions. These are the 10 best ones throughout the show, and at the end of the video, I will also have some hints at what's going to be coming in Arcane Season 2, theories that may actually develop into a solid storyline for that season, and even more stuff about Season 2. But for now, let's actually start jumping in to these top 10 Easter eggs, the ones that I thought were the best throughout the show. Now, we're going to get into number 1 in just a second, but I do want to mention that these Easter eggs are in no particular order. All of them are just as cool as the others in my opinions, although some of them, specifically one, which I will mention once we get there, is personally my favorite. So let's actually jump into number 1, and this is Viktor's boat scene. Now, you guys probably all remember this. At the beginning of the show, we actually did get a flashback of Viktor when he was actually a child and he met up with Singed. Now, obviously, Viktor is a crippled child, so he cannot catch up to his boat. He runs it down the stream. It is an invention that he made, but it gets away from him, and obviously, it escapes into Singed's lair, where eventually he then meets Singed, which then sets him off on quite the journey throughout his life. But even still, he was not able to catch up to that boat. Now, when he actually interacts with the Hex Core, once he begins his glorious evolution process and he begins to turn into more of a robotic figure with augments on his body, what we're going to be looking at is the running scene that he has. Now, this scene personally is one of my favorites in the show. It's honestly such a good climax for this character because honestly, we did not get enough Viktor in Season 1, so I'm hoping for a lot more of him in Season 2. But this scene was absolutely amazing. And that's solely due to the fact that it goes so many levels deep on what Riot actually did with this. So first off, you guys can see that obviously he's running. I mean, Viktor could not run before he got his augment, but now he can. What is interesting about this scene, and the little bit of an Easter egg to it, is that in the background, you guys can actually see that there are boats. Obviously, he's doing this on a pier, and that's due to the fact that it's referencing that now that he's older, now that he's grown up, now that he understands, he can outrun the boats, and he has overcome what he used to be disabled by. In the very beginning scene, we saw him not able to catch up to that boat, but in this scene, we see him flying past the boats with his new augmented leg, which in theory might be a little bit void-born, but that's a whole different topic. Let's actually move on to the second Easter egg. Now, the second one that I have is more specifically for all you League of Legends players out there. I know we're seen as kind of a different breed, shall I say, but sorry. Basically, what this Easter egg is that in the penultimate episode, I believe it was the second to last one, I could be wrong, it might have been the third to last, but anyways, during Vi and Jace's fight scene, we actually get, obviously, a ton of references in-game. If you just watch how Jace is fighting, you can see him use literally all of his abilities. Now, Vi, on the other hand, has a lot simpler of a kit. She's got her dash, which we do see her use. She's got her kind of punches where it blows the area behind her. We don't really see that as much. Obviously, she's got the ult, which she does use at the very beginning of the fight. But what's interesting is her W. Now, for those who don't know, Vi's W is a 3-hit passive, which basically means on her third hit, she'll do a bunch of extra damage, and I believe that it actually takes off armor. Now, in the show, the animators did such a good job that they made Vi attack in sets of 3. When you actually watch these fight scenes, you guys can see that she does 3 punches, then resets and does another 3. Now, I only have this small clip because I don't want my channel to get banned by Netflix. For those wondering why I'm not showing more of the show, I'm not trying to get the channel taken down. But honestly, I think that this is such a cool, tiny little detail and a really nice Easter egg to all of us League players out there that are trying to see one of our favorite champs in-game actually show up on the big screen and deal some damage. Now, the third Easter egg that we have, this one's a little bit harder to catch, and this one is actually during the cupcake scene, or right before it actually. We can see that there are 2 people that have masks, and for those who don't know, these masks are actually Kindred masks. Now, Kindred is actually basically, just a little bit of an analogy here, they're basically the god of death. So there's the lamb and the wolf, and these 2 masks have the aspect of the lamb and the wolf on them. A lot of you guys may have seen this Easter egg already, but I just thought I'd point it out to any of you guys who may not have caught on to that. Now, if you don't know who Kindred is, there's a ton of videos on the internet about who she is. You can also just read her bio over on League's universe. That is what I would recommend doing. But hey, if you like your storytelling in a bit more of an audio format, I would recommend going over to Necrit's channel. His videos are always amazing, and he has a video for basically every champion. Now, the fourth Easter egg that we actually have is a little bit of an uplifting one, but it comes at a very dark time during the show. Now, when Silco actually shows up at Marcus's house, and he's threatening to kill him for obviously letting Vi get out of jail, we see a little bit of a reference to one of our Yordle friends in one of the books. That's right, we actually see Teemo on one of the pages. Now, there were a few other Yordle Teemo references throughout the show, but personally, this is my favorite. I think it's really funny that they've got a book with Teemo inside of it, because obviously, he's that prankster Yordle, and it really does just make sense to have him be in a kid's book, because, you know, he kind of seems like something that the kids would want to read about. Now, this one was a little bit of a smaller Easter egg, I will give you guys that, but the next one's amazing, and is personally my favorite. Now, our next Easter egg, our fifth Easter egg, is going to take a little bit of backstory, so hang with me here. Now, for those who don't know, Ekko actually is in a band in the I'm going to call it the League Cinematic Universe, all right? We're going to go there. We're going to call it that. Now, this band is called True Damage. It is basically like the spin-off of Pentakill, KDA. Those are the other bands. Obviously, they're different genres. Personally, True Damage is my favorite, with Pentakill as a close second, and then KDA as a trailing third. Let me know your guys' order in the comments down below if you feel like doing that. But basically, in the song Giants by True Damage, their debut song, I'm fairly sure, or I'm saying that wrong and I'm pissing off a bunch of people. My bad if I am. But basically, in this song, we get one lyric, and I've listened to it so many times that I actually thought of this while I was watching the episode. Now, in the fourth episode, the first episode of Act 2, we actually get the scene where Ekko is obviously the Firelight's leader, and where his companion actually gets trapped by Jinx. Now, this is the scene where Jinx shoots the person in the back, and more specifically, in the spine. That's going to make more sense in a second, so just remember that. Now, in this scene, we actually see Ekko's friend die, and he gets quite surprised, and, you know, he acts pretty surprised because his friend just got shot in the spine. Now, in the song Giants, we're gonna bring this all together here, people, I promise. There's actually a lyric that is sung by Ekko that says, "When I damage your delicate spine, please don't act all shy and surprised." Like, how deep did Riot go with this? Or is this just me overanalyzing it? Because that's literally a quote from Ekko's line. Now, if we want to take this even a step deeper, the singer that actually sung that, Thutmose, he's, I mean, technically a rapper, but hey, you can call him anything. Now, basically, he has a different song that's associated with League. It's called Run It. It's basically a esports song, but personally, I love the song, and I think it's really good, and that's why I've listened to it a bunch. So once I heard that lyric in Giants that actually pertained to the Arcane series, I decided to go investigating on the rest of Thutmose's songs. And turns out, if you go to his other League of Legends song, the Run It one, you'll actually find the lyric, "Shoot your shot, I wear a vest, so you better aim for the head." Now, that sounds a lot better when it's actually in the song. I'm just a guy recording this on a mic. All the lyrics sound trash when I say them, but when they say them in song, I promise you guys, it sounds great. Now, this lyric, obviously, there's a scene in Arcane we're all thinking of right now where Ekko gets shot in the chest, but he's wearing a vest, and he should have aimed for the head. I'm going Dr. Seuss on you guys right now because I'm rhyming like that, but basically, Riot went like 80 levels deep with this, or I don't know. Is this just me overanalyzing it? Personally, I think this is my favorite Easter egg because this is the one that I completely found on my own. I don't think I've seen this anywhere else. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys think that this is intentional or if I'm just going 80 layers too deep with it. Honestly, I could see it either way. But let's actually move on to Easter egg number 6. For this Easter egg, yet again, we've got an Ekko Easter egg. And personally, this is one of my favorites. This is why I'm actually including it in this video, obviously, because it's my top 10 Easter eggs. But basically, what this Easter egg is that every time that we see Ekko, or every time we see the Firelight's leader, we get some sort of reference to time. Now, this becomes a lot easier once the Firelight's leader is actually unmasked, because literally every time that we see Ekko, he's got the Timewinder logo on his face. He basically has a face tattoo of a literal hourglass. So it's pretty obvious that that's a time reference. And for those who don't know, Ekko in League is actually the Timewinder champion. His lore is basically that he has this mechanical drive that will actually allow him to rewind time a few seconds. Now, we also do see what is, in my mind, a prototype of his Z-Resonance drive. It's the thing that actually contains the gemstone when he actually throws it to Caitlyn and what he's been holding it in the whole time. It looks extremely similar to what he uses to actually rewind time, just a little bit of another Easter egg built into the Easter egg there. Now, the first time that we actually see Ekko in the series, his first lines are, "Hold on, give me a few seconds." In Act 2, his first line as the Firelights leader is, "We only have 5 minutes." Now, all of these lines are obviously referencing time. Now, of course, the Firelights leader also does, in fact, have his stopwatch, and personally, I love this stopwatch. I think it's such good symbolism for who he is, the amount of time that he actually carries with him, and the absolute power that he has. And let's be legit here, guys. The Ekko versus Jinx bridge fight scene was the best in the entire show. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. But let's move on to Easter egg number 7. For our 7th Easter egg, we're actually going to go back to Viktor. Now, Viktor, for those who don't know, is yet again a champion that has a lot of extra lore beyond what was shown in Arcane. Now, Viktor is basically going to turn into an entirely augmented person, where all of his parts are just metal. Any of you guys that play League will know that, but this is just for the people who may not have played the game. Now, in Arcane, we actually do see an amazing setup for what is going to be happening in Season 2, and there are a lot more references to this than you guys may actually be thinking. Now, initially, when we see the prototypes of the gemstones, we see what they power, and of course, we get the Atlas gauntlets, which Vi eventually picks up and begins to use as her own. But we also get the one for the artificers, or at least I believe that's what they said it was for. Now, this laser that you put on your back and you actually attach to yourself is, of course, the weapon that he actually uses in-game. Now, Viktor has a third arm attached to him, and in this scene, it is actually put at an angle for just a second where it looks like it is already connected to him. Obviously, this is referencing how he is going to be having his glorious evolution, and he's going to be turning into more of a machine. Now, obviously, this isn't even an Easter egg here, but obviously, he begins this transformation process with the Hex Core and, of course, the Shimmer that Singed actually gave him in order to turn into his mechanized version. Now, the 8th Easter egg that we have comes from the paintings of Mel. Now, for those who don't know, the painting that Mel actually made was that of the Immortal Bastion. And the Immortal Bastion has a lot of different history behind it. But basically, it was created by Mordekaiser. And for those who don't know who Mordekaiser is, well, you're missing out on some amazing lore. Mordekaiser is basically this guy in just a very short, summarized version. He was basically a guy that lived like 1,000 years ago. He conquered a ton of lands in Noxus. Noxus is like the war nation over in the lands of Runeterra. And basically, he conquered a ton of lands, but then eventually he ended up dying because he was only a mortal. And he expected to be greeted in the realm of death as a god and be welcomed by the gods of death. But once he got there, there weren't any gods of death. So you know what he did? He said, screw it, I'm gonna become a god of death. And he literally just took the mantle of god of death. He eventually managed to get out of the death realm and back into the mortal realm and lived a second life. In this second life, he actually built the Immortal Bastion, which is the painting that we see Mel actually made of Noxus. It's basically its largest landmark because the thing is absolutely ginormous. Now, along with that, this is also teeing up a potential storyline for Arcane Season 2, but we'll cover that a little bit more at the end of the video. This is just a little bit of an Easter egg to show that Mel is from Noxus, and of course, her mother also is from there, which is of course teasing her entrance in the beginning of Act 3. Now, the 9th Easter egg that we have is actually a really common one that you guys probably all already know, but I had to include it in here because it is of course one of my favorites. This is Benzo's shop. Now, in this shop, we see a ton of different items, and not only limited to Tryndamyr's helmet, the Rabadon's death cap that looks very faded out, and then, of course, we also have the Firelight's mask. This one is actually overlooked a lot, but basically, one of the masks in the case is actually one of the ones that Ekko uses and turns into his leader Firelight's mask. All he does is add a little bit of an owl theme to it, and that is his mask. Along with that, there is an old item from the ancient days of League. Back in my day when we played League and there was still this item in game. That's also an item from League. And then, of course, there's also Liandry's Anguish, Liandry's Torment, however you want to call it, if it's the Ornn upgrade or not. I just call it Liandry's. I honestly forget the second half to the name. But there's just a ton of reference to in-game items from League. Let's actually move on to our 10th and final Easter egg. Now, this final Easter egg is a little bit different than the ones that I've talked about previously. This one's a lot more speculative, so hang with me here, guys. Now, when we're in the final scenes, the absolutely amazing finale to the show, we of course get the scene in Singed Slayer. And what most people noticed about this scene is that Warwick is hanging from the ceiling. And for those of you who know Singed's lore and also Warwick's lore, then you guys will know that Warwick was created by Singed, and in Arcane Season 2, which we'll be getting to in a second, Warwick is going to be playing a major part. Now, along with that, the part that a lot of people did not notice is the little thing that Singed is actually holding. It is a picture of his daughter, which we learned earlier in the series actually already has died, or at least we believe she has died, because it was specifically stated by Singed that he used to have a daughter as well when speaking to Silco about Jinx. Now, this daughter is theorized to be Orianna. Now, a lot of you guys may have heard this theory, but there is even more to it, and I'm going to put my own little twist on this. Now, on the floor next to Singed, we can see a book, and this book is kind of tattered, and it looks, I mean, a little bit green. This might just be my imagination here making it green, but I see the book as Morello's. Now, for those who don't know Morello's, then you won't understand the rest of this reference. But basically, Morello's is a mage item that you can build in League, and this item is very often built on Orianna, which LS actually hates a ton, and some of you guys will understand what I just said, some of you won't, but if you did, then good for you. But basically, Orianna is most likely going to be Singed's daughter. Now, I honestly don't know that much about Orianna's lore, if I'm going to be entirely honest with you guys, but I've learned a decent bit about it in the past few days, and it seems like she was a mechanical creation, but it never specified who created her. And so that's why people are now guessing that Singed was actually the creator of Orianna. Now, that wraps up my top 10 Easter eggs for Arcane, the first season at least. So now let's start looking at the Season 2 trailer, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown here. Now, in the Season 2 trailer, if you have not watched it already, go ahead and go watch that. It's on League of Legends channel. It's like literally everywhere over the internet. Just search Arcane Season 2 and you'll find it. But basically, in this trailer, at the very end, from 30 to 32 seconds, we get a nice little sound cue. And being someone who used to be a one-trick Warwick, I instantly knew this sound. It is the Blood Hunt sound that you get when his W passive is activated when someone is below 50% health. Basically what that means is that it is confirmed that Warwick will be in Act 2, and he will most likely be playing a major part. I'm extremely excited about this because I love Warwick. I love his lore. I love the champ. I love everything about him. Warwick's amazing. It's a little bit weird because I'm a Yasuo player and a Warwick player. They're like the complete opposite, but hey, it somehow works. But hey, guys, that's what's going to be coming in Arcane Season 2. We know it's going to have Caitlyn. We know it's going to have Vi. We know it's going to have Jinx. And a lot of people have been speculating that it's going to be a big time jump. I don't think so, guys. I think it's just going to be a continuation of the last story. I mean, I've heard Necrit say this before, but honestly, in the League lore, we don't get time skips like that. I think it's just going to pick up basically right where we left off. Maybe 1 year goes by, maybe like a half a year, but there's not going to be any giant time skip. This should just be a continuation of the story that we were already watching, and we're going to see the after effects of Jinx's pentakill on the counselors up in Piltover. But guys, this has been my top 10 Easter eggs in Arcane and a little bit of a breakdown of the Season 2 trailer. If you guys actually did enjoy this video, then please consider leaving a like on it and subscribing to the channel, as that would help me out a ton. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you guys in the next one.